You may have felt this before, or you may be right in the middle of it now. Everything on the surface appears normal. You are still showing up, still moving through the days in the familiar shape of a person who is functioning. You go to work, you come home, you have conversations, and to the people around you, including the people who love you most, everything looks fine. But inside, something is happening that the surface does not show. Something you are carrying forward that matters to you in a way that is difficult to put into words to someone who does not already feel the weight of it. Not because the people around you are indifferent, but because what you are moving toward exists in a territory they have not yet entered. And so you carry it forward alone, in the specific interior sense of someone who is not alone in the literal sense, but who is alone in the sense that matters most right now. And the question that keeps arriving quietly, with a specific persistence of something that knows it deserves an honest answer, is this. Is it possible to keep going when nobody around you understands why? Carl Jung spent his entire career studying exactly this question, the specific exhaustion of moving towards something real in the company of people who could not yet see it as real.
This video is the map of that season, 7 stages. What actually happens when you keep going and nobody around you understands why, and why that specific season, as difficult as it is from the inside, is the one that builds what nothing else can build. Before we begin, I want to say something directly. YouTube recently demonetized this channel, and the work you have been finding here is now entirely dependent on the people who need it deciding it is worth preserving. If this channel has given you something real, the inner circle on Patreon is where the work continues. The link is in the description. Come if you can. Let us go all the way in. Number 1, the collapse of the belief that being understood is a requirement for moving forward.
I want to tell you about a man I will call Marcus. He had been working on something quiet and specific for 3 years. His closest friends were supportive in the general sense, but when he tried to explain what he was building, the conversation would arrive at a certain depth and then deflect towards something more comfortable. Marcus learned, without quite noticing, to condition the depth of his commitment on the availability of that understanding, withdrawing a small portion each time the understanding fell short. After 2 years of this, he sat with Carl Jung's writing for the first time and found something more useful than encouragement, a precise description of what he had been doing. Jung wrote, "The most intense conflicts, if overcome, leave behind a sense of security and calm that is not easily disturbed." Marcus understood that the conflict he had been avoiding by withdrawing commitment had not been resolved. It had simply been postponed. The collapse of this belief, the genuine recognition that understanding is valuable but not required, is not comfortable. It feels in the moment like something important has been lost. But what becomes available in the space it leaves behind is the thing no external understanding could have produced. Full commitment, unmodulated by the need for confirmation, pointed directly at what the interior has always known is real.
Number 2, the specific loneliness of carrying something real that the people around you cannot yet see. Once the belief that understanding is required has collapsed, something else surfaces. The specific quality of loneliness that arrives when you are genuinely moving in a direction that people around you cannot yet see. This is different from ordinary loneliness. Ordinary loneliness is the absence of company. This is the presence of company and the simultaneous absence of the specific accompaniment the thing you're carrying requires. I want to tell you about a man I will call Daniel. He was surrounded by people who cared about him, family, friendships, a partner genuinely invested in his well-being. And by any ordinary measure, not alone. But for 2 years, he had been moving in a direction none of them could quite reach. Not through lack of care, but because the territory did not yet exist for them the way it existed for him. The loneliness this produced was not the loneliness of being unloved. It was the loneliness of being seen in every dimension of life except the one that mattered most right now. Jung understood this with precision. In his own life, he moved in a direction that even Freud, who's a...
Number 3, why the unseen season is the most important season. The unseen season is not a waiting room. It is a construction site. Jung observed across decades of clinical work that the interior development which happens during a period of moving forward without external confirmation is qualitatively different from what happens during periods of recognition. Not better, but structurally different. It builds the self that is independent of external confirmation. Under the specific conditions of continuing to move in a genuine direction with no signal that the direction is real, the interior develops a form of self-knowledge that cannot be given by recognition and cannot be taken by its absence. The knowledge of what you will do when nobody is watching. I want to tell you about a man I will call James. He spent 4 years working on something that produced no external recognition at all. Not the absence of praise, but the complete absence of any signal that what he was doing was registering. He said afterward, the 4 years did not feel like preparation for something. They felt like failure. And then they became the most important thing I have ever done. Not because of what they produced, but because of what I discovered I was willing to do when I had no reason to do it except that I knew it was real. Jung wrote, "Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes." External recognition reveals what the world values. The unseen season reveals what you value when the world's opinion is not available to shape yours.
Number 4, acting without anyone witnessing what the acting is actually costing you. Once you understand what the unseen season is building, another dimension becomes visible. The acting is costing something real and specific, and nobody around you can see the cost because the cost is interior. The energy of continuing in the face of doubt, the daily, largely invisible labor of being the only person in your environment who can see that what you are doing is worth doing. I want to tell you about a man I will call Thomas. He had been working in silence for 2 years when his closest friend told him over dinner, "I admire your discipline." Thomas felt the precise inadequacy of that word. Discipline implies managing behavior against competing desires. What he had actually been doing was maintaining genuine belief in something real with no external signal that the belief was warranted. Not discipline, faith, in the most personal sense of that word. Jung wrote, "The most important question anyone can ask is, what myth am I living?" The person who understands the myth they are living, who understands the invisible cost is the specific price of the specific development the season is producing, carries that cost differently. Not without difficulty, but with the quality of someone who knows what the cost is for.